What's going on? It's the Rap Nerd, and I'm here today to talk about Snoop's 20th album that he just released over the weekend called Missionary. Now, for the folks who don't know, this is Snoop and Dre getting back together, collaborating to make an album. Yes, the whole album is fully produced by Dr. Dre, and that really got me excited. So he dropped an album called BODR back in 2022 when he first bought Death Row Records. And he is the CEO and president of the company. So this is another project on that album. And from what I saw in interviews, he said that this was him kind of doing a modernized version of Doggy Style, because for all these years, he didn't own his masters to it until recently. So he was like, you know what, I want to go back and recreate a classic in modern day, link up with Dre, and here we are with Missionary. Hence the switch of position of him being in the front of everything as the CEO, which I think is a dope flipping explanation for the album. Now I'm gonna say off rip that the subject matter isn't anything introspective as you would expect with Snoop, and it's not really what he does, but it is a very solid project all around, and the two stars again coming together to make this incredible sounding album is Snoop and Dre. Like, listening to this entire album just brought me back to my childhood growing up with in the early 2000s of hip hop, because I forgot how much of Dre lent himself out to different people and labels in the 2000s. Like, this brought me back to Snoop in 2000 under Aftermath. This brought me back to Eminem, especially G-Unit. Like, there are so many beats on here that I'm like, man, a G-Unit record on this beat would be incredible. Or just having a member like Yayo or Banks, even Game on something would be fucking fantastic. So Dre is equally as a star on here as Snoop is, and Snoop comes with some sharp rhyming, probably the best I've ever heard Snoop rap, for real. Now, I didn't listen to any of the singles that they put out, because usually I try to stay away from those because I know it's going to be packaged with any album, and sometimes that can mess up the song itself. So I went into this thing clean. I just heard him talking about it, and I gotta say, like I said, I was pretty blown away with the production. I mean, the first two records, and I'm looking down on the phone referencing certain tracks just in case you're wondering. The first two songs being tone setters, you know, Foreplay with BJ the Kid pretty much singing. Then it goes into Shangri-La, which is more celebratory. But then we get to Out the Blue. Now, this was a single that released earlier that I didn't peep. And man, when I listened to this, I could not believe my ears. Easily one of my favorite joints on here. I love that bounce on here when the sample is dun, 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 dun. Again, sound like something that I could hear 50 and Banks just going crazy over. And I just love Snoop and Dre going back to back on some Styles P and Kiss shit. I don't think I've ever heard them do that, and it just has so much energy. And I love the bounce. I love the resampling of the MIA track. All I want to do is it's a super hype record. Love this song. And then we get into what has to be my favorite song on the album, which is crazy that this drops in this early as Hard Knocks. I freaking, like, oh my God, I love this record. And this has some of the best bars I've ever heard from Snoop. I love that first beat. It's more chill in a sense, but again, it still has that like old 2000s feel to it that I can hear, like I said, M50, all of them just rapping on the whole Aftermath. But really when it turns up is when the beat changes to that new one, and that's when Snoop just goes off. And that's a rapper version of Snoop that I ain't never heard before. I mean, what'd he say? Don't make me sign off on the sig without a signature? Like, that's a bar. God damn. And there are just mad quotables in the song with him rapping rapid fire, literally. I mean, rhyming with do not disturb for a good 12 bars, you know. What the witnesses heard, not a word, nothing. Like, just going off ridiculously. And then I love the melodics that he gets into at the end of the verse. He's like, too rich to make poor decisions. This is easily my favorite track. I'm gonna say that off rip. Like, absolutely love this song, and I had to give this song quits and move forward to the rest of them because I kept running that shit back. Like, just an incredible song. And then the next song, Gorgeous with Janae, I just like how groovy it is. You know, it's a sample that we've heard before, and Janae having these angelic vocals that just play really well. And this is a song that really speaks to the production value of Dre again, because like the 2000s, all of these beats are what people now would consider to be overproduced. But back in the 2000s, man, when you were a top hip hop act, you would have a whole album created by super producers. Everything is produced to the T, blown up. Everything is big and large and almost sounding like it's too much fitting on one song. And while I do feel like it's a bit overproduced, and there are a few songs that's like, there are quite a few songs that are kind of like that, but it just brings back what I once knew growing up. It's in hip hop back in my early days, and I love this record and how groovy it is, and I love to bounce to it. Last Dance, not really a fan of that. It's kind of genre bending, but you know, and that wasn't my thing. But then we get to Thank You, and for whatever reason, my daughter loves this song. I played it with her while we were going to Chick-fil-A recently, the edited version, and she just loves that. Thank you for letting me be myself. She loves the sample. Just a song talking about the fans who have allowed him to be himself from start to finish, because a lot of people don't know Snoop Dogg from back in the day. Murder Was the Case, and this is kind of him letting people know, like, this is where I came from. And for folks who knew me this whole ride, I appreciate it. The next song we get to is Pressure, and this joint reminds me of something like Pasta Cavasse. It just has like this ill guitar riff going through it to carry the beat. And again, I could just see a video like that. It almost gives me Pharrell energy, but I don't know. It's really a simple beat, but it just works really well because of the repetitive nature of how that sound is going. And then you have the guy singing. What's his name? Kane, I believe. He has a very soulful, rich voice that just brings it all together. You know, all of those stacked vocals. Just really enjoy that record a lot and how low key it is. And of course, again, Snoop sliding all over it like never before. The next joint is one that I don't really care for. Another part of me. It's again another genre bending one that I'm like, I can kind of do without. Then we get to a spitter joint called Skyscrapers featuring Method Man that is up there as my favorite records too. It has an ill sample that it just reminds you of like what Dre can really do, because the range of beats that Dre does on these albums, from just having hard-hitting kicks with instruments being played and no samples, and then he switches over and gives you something like this that sounds like some New York shit. I feel like this song went into Meth's world, but still just blended so well with the album, because Snoop is used to rapping on sample beats. Like, I feel like the G-Funk era in general is part of West Coast hip hop, and a lot of that G-Funk is sample based. So I think a lot of people forget that, and merging these two in this one world just made for a dope record. And of course, Method Man just going the fuck off as usual. Then we get to another record called Fire, which is 100% a Jamaican-esque inspired record, and I expect that from Snoop. I mean, he is the blazer of blazers, one of the most famous ones, so I knew there was going to be something sprinkled on in here. It's one of those joints that you can smoke to, for a lack of better terms. Then we get to another joint, Guns and Smoke, featuring M and 50. Oh my God. When I heard this song, I'm like, Fifth, when are we going to get another album from you? Like, please, as soon as he hopped on, extend over the clip long. Like, I'm just like, bro, I need this, man. Like, this brought me back to Get Rich or Die Trying and The Massacre. Fifth, when are we going to have a new album and a joint with Dre? I need that. And then hearing M over Dre, I'm like, M, cut to producer act. When are we going to do another joint with Dre producing you, bro? I need that. Oh my God, I need it. Oh, what a record, yo. I'm just listening to this like, why? And then we got the Biggie sample on the hook. Oh, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Like, Snoop gave us this. I need this from all of the top Interscope artists at the time. You know, everybody's got their own deals now, but I need that, please. As we get to the last record, which is The Negotiator, and this joint is hard body. Again, yet another one that shows Dre as a sample producer that kind of gives me energy of Regulator in a sense, but just with a different vibe of it. It's more intense, and Snoop just all over the beat again, reminding us where he came from. I think there's a bar in here where he was like, I got Martha on, look at me now, I got Martha on speed dial. If he didn't say that there, I think, you know what, I think that record was, you know, I think that bar was on the joint with Method Man. But it's just, I love hearing Snoop talking shit, because he is literally OG status. 20 albums in, 30 years plus, hip hop, royalty, owning Death Row Records. Like, this is a celebration of his career. This is yet another and continued celebration of the West Coast. This is definitely the West Coast year. So to end December with having King Snoop drop a very good project that crept right into my top 10, gotta love it, man. So that's my quick review for Snoop Dogg's Missionary. Really loved the album, enjoyed it. Very, very excellent production and astounding raps from Snoop that I haven't heard. Like I said, I've listened to Snoop since I was younger, and I haven't heard him rap on this level. And it was just magnificent to see hip hop grow, get older and better. Like, to me, this is the other side of the coin of LL Cool J's The Force Project. You know, that album is super New York, and then we have the Missionary, which is super West Coast, and it's the OGs coming out to play. And then you got Common in the Midwest and Chicago holding it down. Hip hop is not no young man's game. I don't give a damn what nobody says. The elders are still whooping these little dudes' ass, man. But that's another video for the story. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you already are subscribed, thank you. And until next time, peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.